Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Business First Creatives podcast. I am here with a client who has become one of my besties. You may recognize her if you are watching YouTube. She has been on this podcast before, and now she has entered the realm of educator. And so I'm kind of having her on this podcast with a different experience in mind this time. Natasha, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I know, I feel like it's been forever since I saw you. It's been like 5 whole months.
That's a long time.
Did you count? I counted.
Yeah, it's a long time.
I mean,
For sure.
before we got into the studio, I was literally on my phone looking up flight prices to come to Palm Springs.
Anytime, Coley. The house is here. Anytime.
And I mean, you're trying to spend as much time there as well, right?
I am. I've been here by the time I leave, I will have been here for almost 6 weeks. So it's going to be hard going back to the cold tundra of DC. So,
I mean, so funny story. We're at the time that this records or that this airs, James and I will have gone to Disneyland together a month ago for our first adult trip. And, you know, it sounds fabulous. It is going to be fabulous. But do you know what's even more fabulous? I looked up the weather of what it's going to be like this weekend when we go. The low on Sunday is -11.
Oh,
I'm going to be so excited to be in California. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
yes. I'm hoping that DC doesn't get that cold, but I have missed some snow, which is great because I am not a snow fan, but it is definitely going to be cold, but not that cold.
Yeah. So the funny thing, guys, is I think I have identified myself as a client experience and systems strategist. And today, Natasha is here to tell us all about client experience. But I feel like she's going to tell you from like a way different perspective. So, Natasha, why don't you introduce yourself to the podcast audience in case they don't know who you are? And then kind of tell me why client experience is like the thing that you are going with going forward.
So I am Natasha Sewell. I am the owner and photographer at MPS Photography. I live in Washington, D.C. I moved my business from rural North Carolina 3 years ago to D.C. And I have maintained and kept some of my North Carolina clients, which I think speaks volumes to my customer experience. I shoot in-home family and newborns. I'm a mom to 3 grown humans, and we recently bought this fabulous house in Palm Springs, which I'm obsessed with. So I'm sort of spending some time here and most of my time in DC. So client experience is so important to me because I feel like the more you can prep and prepare your clients for a session, the more relaxed they are. And as a photographer, you know, going into a session, if you have a super uptight, tense, nervous client, it is a very different experience than when you walk in and everybody's relaxed and comfortable. And the images that you are able to capture are just different. So tweaking my client experience to the level that I have has time and time again shown me that I prepare my clients well and that everybody has a great time.
So I hope that you guys picked up on that. She says that she does in-home family and newborns. So are you guys starting to understand why we're besties? She would also rather eat glass than go photograph people outside. That is what we have in common. But Natasha, I do feel like, in a way, not to say that outdoor portrait photographers don't have to relax their clients and, you know, prepare them for the session. But I feel like as in-home photographers, we do double duty. Not only do we have to get our clients relaxed, comfortable with us, comfortable with our camera, we often have to convince them that it's okay that I'm coming into your house with a camera and I am going to photograph, you know, all of the things. And I need you to not be nervous about the fact that your house is going to be highlighted in these photos almost as much as you are. Do you agree?
I completely agree with you. I think that's the number one question behind what should we wear is we don't have a house that's out of Architectural Digest, you know, don't expect anything crazy. And so I really try to prep people for the fact that your home is your home. It is your safe space. And it doesn't matter what it looks like. It really doesn't. A light cleanup is all you have to do. And I do think that that really helps. It's certain sessions when there is a lot of clutter and a lot of things. And I find this area, or clear off an area that we can take great images, I often want to take my phone and like turn around and show photographers what it really looks like. But I would never do that to my clients because we live in our homes. Our homes should look lived in. I expect trash. I expect laundry, kids' toys everywhere. That is life. But I so wish, I might get the nerve this year to do that, is just to ask someone who I have a, ongoing relationship with, do you mind if I just take a quick video of what we're working with here? Because I think that that would put clients really at ease too, to see that everyone's house is the same.
I do feel like at the beginning of my career as an in-home photographer, one of the things that really helped me was when we would do sessions for ourselves. So in other words, I brought a photographer into my home, which in case the listening audience is unfamiliar, yes, I live in a newer house to me. Now we have a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and I have my very own office, which seems very spacious when you guys see photos of it. But for the majority of when my child was little and we were still doing like annual sessions inside of our house, we lived in a tiny townhouse. And I'm talking about 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. And the thing that I had to prep the photographers that came into my house. So you can imagine that I would tell them, listen, do you have a 24? If you don't have a 24, tell me what kind of camera you have and I will rent one for you. And the first time that I did that, someone was like, that is not necessary. And I'm like, oh, but it is. So she was Sony and I was at that point Nikon. And I said, no, 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 I'm going to rent you a 24. I rented it. I picked it up the next day. When she walked into my house, she looked and she goes, oh my God. I said, yes. She said, oh, I'm going to need the 24. I'm like, yes, you do. I mean, so I feel like I have told a lot of people about that experience. I have also done videos of myself cleaning my house before someone comes to photograph me, showing people what my husband's honey-do list is. Because when we first moved into our townhouse, the first thing that I did was paint every single wall a color that was not neutral. Because up until that point, I had always lived in rented apartments where every single wall was white or beige. So I painted my house turquoise and hunter green and like all of these colors. But the funny thing is, I didn't go all the way to the ceiling. I painted as high as I could and I said, oh, we'll get to it to where, we'll put down painter's tape and we'll get to the top. So the first time that we invited somebody to come and photograph us in our house, I got pictures and video of James finally painting the trim around the top of my bedroom. Because I think my ceilings in my bedroom are like 14 feet. Like they're incredibly tall. So we had just never gone up that high. So I'm telling the listening audience this story because if anything that we're saying to you is true and you are someone that invites someone into your house, you don't necessarily have to ask your client permission to share their, chaos and clutter. If you have it yourself, you can probably prep your clients with that just as well.
Absolutely. And we all have clutter. And
some more than others.
We all have spaces that aren't finished too. I mean, no one's house is perfection. So, and that's an important thing to put clients at ease about.
So let's start from like a photographer perspective. Where do you think someone should begin if they think that their client experience is less than awesome? Where is it that they should begin in order to think and build and plan a client experience that is better for themselves as well as their clients?
So I think the first thing you should do is keep a note on your phone, and every question that comes up from clients, jot it down. And if you see a trend of the same question being asked over and over and over again, you know that there is a hole in your client experience because you should not be having the same question asked over and over again. You can also have a friend or a family member go through sort of a mock session, and you can take them all the way through your workflow and have them give you feedback on where there are missing parts. But looking at the questions you get is so key. As I said, I get asked what to wear, and they tell me their house isn't perfect. Like, our house isn't great. I don't think the pictures are going to be good in our house. Those are the two things. I address those multiple times in communication, my website, all of the things, blog posts, you name it, newsletters. And I really don't get those questions very often anymore because my clients are prepped. But for a long
Yes.
time, those are the questions I got.
Well, and I think that it's important to note what you said, right? You're doing it on your website. You're doing it in your communication. I happen to know she's also doing it inside of her Dubsado. I mean, so you're doing it in all of the places. And a lot of the times we feel like we're repeating ourselves. But the truth is, only those like top go-getters, and maybe not even them, are going to see every single piece of your client experience and pay attention. I have had people tell me, oh no, they asked me, what to do about this, but it's on my website. And I'm like, okay, but how do you know they saw it on your website? And then they're like, well, but clearly they didn't. I know. But so if there's anything important that's on your website, you also have to put it inside of your client experience when they're in the process of hiring you and also after they've hired you, because everybody needs multiple reminders. We don't need to be told something one time and it's just going to stick. I mean, maybe it's me, maybe it's my age, maybe it's my adult brain. I don't know, but I need to
No.
be told things multiple times in order for it to stick.
And I think that's true with everybody, because think about parents with small kids. They are being pulled in 900 different directions. They are juggling everything. So they don't want to have to search to find information. And they most likely aren't going to. And even if you put it in everything, they still might miss it. I mean, that is a big possibility. So the more ways that you can share and communicate that information with them, the higher the chances are that they are going to see it somewhere. And people are not annoyed by being told the same thing over and over again. They really, really appreciate it. So I also have incorporated video into my website and sharing information. I have what I call a client video library, and
Ooh.
I have video in there, either Loom videos, or there's actually a video of me holding up different products and showing them to them. I feel like Vanna White, but that's
I
what
mean,
it
that's
is.
funny.
And because people do have 2 and 3 minutes to watch a video. Think of how many videos you watch on social media a day. So sometimes just showing it in a different form is
Mhm.
helpful as well.
Yeah. I mean, those of us that like to read can read, but if you process something auditory or visual, that video, I mean, I did not know that you had a video library. So now I'm just curious, and I'm sure the listening audience will get something out of this. At what point are you sharing the video library? Are you sharing it as a whole, or are you kind of sharing individual links throughout your client experience when they are most important for the client to see them?
So my video library really touches on post-session information.
Okay.
So product information, how pick time works, that sort of thing. It
Mm-hmm.
is not necessarily my prep process for clients, although I have considered adding that, but I have not done so yet. So I send them the video library in my day after email. It is
Ooh.
linked so that they can, because they're still excited about the session.
Mhm.
It just happened. And so I tell them at the end of the session, I'm going to send you an email tomorrow. It's going to have a link to some videos. And then I send it again right before I send them the gallery, the slideshow. I think I just send it the 2 times now
Okay.
that I think about it. And that seems to be enough. I rarely have someone who is not at least at a minimum watched how pick time works.
Okay.
Because it's quick. It's not a long video, but it walks them totally through it, and they know exactly what to expect when they get their slideshow.
And I have a podcast episode, and guys, I am not going to go find it now because it would just take me too long. But I do have a couple of episodes, one in particular that I'm thinking of, and I tell you the 4 client experience videos that you should create for your process. And I find it really interesting that Natasha is basically putting all of them into a library and
Mm-hmm.
sending them in what you all know I lovingly call the dead zone. I say every photographer has a nurture problem between the session and the delivery.
Mm.
Whether or not your editing window is 2 weeks, or it's 4 weeks, or it's 6 to 8 weeks if you're a wedding photographer, or longer, your clients are very anxious to see what the outcome was from the session, because we do two things. We provide a service to them when we're inside of their home. That is their experience with us, how we treat them, how they feel about being in front of our camera. And then there's the actual photos and physical products, if you deliver those as well, that we give them after the session. And so I always feel like we do double duty. And a lot of photographers put in a lot of prep work for the actual session portion, like, how the process is going to go and what
Mm-hmm.
you should wear and those things. But they don't do an equal amount to prep them for the delivery part. Because even if you are an all inclusive photographer, which Natasha is not, but if you are an all inclusive photographer, you should still tell them how your online gallery works. You should still tell them how to download photos. And if you have an online gallery store attached, you should tell them how they can purchase the products and maybe which product is your favorite. So I would encourage everybody to listen, this listening. If you don't do anything else from this episode, I want you to think about how much prep you do for the session and make sure that you're doing at least that amount of prep for the delivery.
Absolutely. And as you said, it is a dead zone. A lot of photographers do not communicate with your clients during that. You have the session, you've done all this prep, and then there's no more communication until you send off a gallery. Mm-hmm. And that is just wasted time. And you can have them all automated. I have them all in Dubsado. So it's not like I am every single time writing out an email and linking the thing, it's automated. And every client gets it. Occasionally someone will ask me a question, which means they actually watch the videos, which is awesome. So it is beneficial. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I think that's the other thing, is that people think it needs to be this huge production. My product video is literally me sitting in front of the camera, holding up the products and showing the parts of the products that I really love and why I love it and why it's a popular product. That is it. Mm-hmm. It is as simple can be, but a lot of my clients watch it.
Well, and I feel like I'm going to give you a suggestion. And if you don't take it, that's okay. I feel like the listening audience needs it. You're talking about your video library really addresses like the prep for delivery. Mm-hmm. But one place that a lot of people don't tend to think about putting a video, and every time I mention it, it's like light bulbs light up, is giving people a video after they inquire with you. So I know you've heard me say this, but I'm going to say it again because it's worth it. After someone fills out your contact form on your Dubsado, your website, whatever it is that you're using, you can usually redirect them to a custom thank you page. And I have always said, you should have a video on that page that tells them what comes next. Now, one of my videos is 4 minutes long. And the first time that I shared it, someone was like, not the client, but like a photographer that I shared it with was like, oh my God, what did you talk about for 4 minutes? And I was like, okay, maybe I should make a shorter version just so that my point doesn't get lost in how long my video is. Because y'all, in case you haven't figured it out, I love to talk. So I made a 90-second version, and basically all it was telling them was, I'm so happy that you inquired about my services. I love coming into your house and capturing your everyday moments. I'm basically recapping what's on my website, but I'm saying it quickly, face to camera so that they can see me and hear me as I'm saying it. And then I tell them what the next step is, because for me, it's a consultation call. And a lot of people get nervous about consultation calls. They don't want to be put on the spot. They feel like it's going to be like a hard sales call. And I'm telling them, no, we just need to make sure that we jive. I mean, when I show up at your house, I want you to love me. I want your husband to love me, your partner to love me. I want your kids to love me. I want us to have a good time. And so if we get on a call and we don't enjoy each other's company, I am probably not the photographer to you to show up at your house and take your photos. And I think a lot of people really appreciate like that honesty. And I tell them what the purpose of the call is. And by saying it, I am making it a little easier to digest than if I wrote it down on paper. So that is the one place that, like, Natasha, I feel like you should add a client experience video.
I have a thank you page, a specific thank you page that talks about the next steps for sure. I do not have a video there. So maybe you have inspired me to stick a video there too, so that people know exactly what is and they see you. And I also do a consultation call. So I know I have something on the thank you page that says, it's a great opportunity for you to ask questions and me to walk you through a session and all of those things. But there's no reason I can't have a video there with my face, talking
Mm-hmm.
to them and telling them all of those things as well. And people like video. I will say the one thing with video that I have not done, because I did these videos a while ago, is I did not do captions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is on my list to do, is make sure I have captions, because a lot of people watch videos not,
Okay.
not with the volume.
So now you've got me interested. Where are the videos hosted?
So the videos, oh yeah, I wonder if I could just do
Yes.
it.
If it's Vimeo or Loom, you just need to turn them on. If you have them
Okay.
in Vimeo, a lot of people don't know you can actually upload videos to Loom.
Mine are in Loom. So okay,
Yes.
can I just turn it on?
Yes, you just need to turn the captions on.
Okay, I will do that then.
Hmm.
Thank you for that tip. Although they probably need to be re-recorded because I did them a while ago, at least the pick time one. But yes, because if you're nursing a baby at 3 a.m., most likely you're not going to be listening to, I mean, maybe
Yes.
you will, but listening to the person talking. So, okay, thank you for that, Coley.
Yeah. So, okay, we've talked about videos,
Yes.
which are super awesome. I'm wondering, what do you think is the hardest concept, the hardest thing to implement inside your client experience from what you've seen either your mentoring students do or yourself? Like, because we've already given them a couple of examples of things where they can just jump in. But like if you wanted to identify this is the hardest thing, and so if it takes you a couple times, if you can't get it right the first time, it's a-okay. What would that thing be for you?
I personally think it's continuing that relationship past delivery of everything. So past the session. Because a lot of times what happens again is you're like, okay, we did the session, they paid me, they have all their things, I'm done. And really nurturing and continuing that relationship is super important, because that is how you get those repeat clients. And that is how it's just a reminder, oh, yeah, we had this great session with them. And a friend's asking on the playground, I'm looking for a photographer. And they immediately think of you. So it's just, putting them on your newsletter list. I actually have a separate client newsletter
Mm-hmm.
list. So they will get my regular newsletters sometimes. And sometimes I write a specific one for the clients that I've already worked with. And I also offer special things to clients I've worked with. So I do petite fall family sessions. It is not something I offer to everybody. It's not open to the public. It is just for repeat clients, because they are shorter sessions. And blasphemy, I do some of them outdoors. And so those are only offered to them, and it is a perk of being a past client of mine. So I just think that that's something that people don't always think through, is separating out those clients into their own newsletter
Mm-hmm.
list and doing sort of more personal emails to them is super beneficial. Yes, I'm sure they would enjoy your general email list, but this just, I don't, it's like carrying on a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's a tricky thing, and a thing that a lot of people don't think about.
I agree. And I just want to put out there, because I know that a lot of photographers don't do email marketing. They're a little scared of email marketing. I just want to say, guys, when Natasha says that she's putting them on a separate newsletter, that's just a tag. That's just a
Right.
segment. They're all still in the same account, whether it's Flowdesk or Kit or some other email marketing program like MailChimp. All she's talking about is adding a separate identifying tag to identify these people as those that you've already worked with. And I also want to say, in case you have not been a listener of this podcast for a really long time, back on episode, and see, I did look this one up, back on episode 28, I chatted with one of my clients, Katie from the Bay Area. And one of the things that we did when we set up her new Dubsado pick time, like client experience from beginning to end, was she had what she recalls repeat client days. She does them like you do, like,
Mm-hmm.
one time out of the year. It was one of the things that we decided to set up. And she sold out of all of those in 48 hours. So if you are listening to this and you have a lot of clients that you've worked with in the past and you've never offered them, like, this is a returning client only offer, this is something that I only do for you, give it a whirl. Because every single person that I have either helped set it up or that have just told me about it in conversation, that has always gone really, really well. But you can't do that if you don't have your clients tagged in a special way to where you can just send that offer to them.
Absolutely. And I think that goes to surprising clients with something. And I am a big proponent of surprising clients, not in, so maybe they don't know that you offer this special client sessions, or that you send a gift, or that I personally give my clients their slideshow as a thank you after they've purchased their collection, and they don't know that that's happening. It's a surprise. So I think surprising clients is also a great way to just thank them for being in your life and in your business.
So a lot of people are like, yeah, but like when they need another session, they'll come to me. How do you respond to that?
You need to be front of mind. And it's not that they didn't love working with you, but we are inundated constantly with different providers or, different things. And you really want to build brand loyalty. And you do that by creating an amazing client experience from beginning to end and beyond. So, yes, hopefully they will have such a great experience and love their images so much that, yes, they will book you again. But if you have all these other touch points, they are more likely to book you again and send their amazing friends to you.
So you've mentioned that the way that you continue your conversation with clients is you move them to your newsletter and you have them specifically identified as clients. I'm curious, when do you cut off the particular experience that they've paid you for inside of Dubsado? So in other words, when is it that you finally archive a project and like consider it to be done?
So I send a request for a testimonial, and I also ask them to please refer me to their friends. And there are a couple emails in that little section because people forget, emails get buried, all those things. So once that's completed, I archive them.
Okay. Are you still doing what I set up for you?
Yes,
Which
I
is
am.
you get, okay, I'm
So
just making sure it's the same.
With newborns, they go into another workflow to have the possibility to book additional sessions with me throughout that first year. Yes.
Okay. So that's special for the newborns, but for
exactly.
the families. Now, how long do you wait to see if they're going to give you that testimonial before you archive the project?
I usually give them 2 months.
Okay.
Just because people are busy, and also just think of times of year. I did a bunch of sessions in the fall, full family sessions. People are busy. We have all the holidays. Kids are home from school, then everybody got snow or whatever. So I give them at least 2 months and then I archive it.
Okay. I only point that out because that is a question that I get a lot. And hey, maybe it's a frequently asked question that I need to write down and do a blog post about.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are like, well, but I don't know how long to leave that process open. And so, and it's okay if they don't give you feedback. I would say that at some point, if you've added them to your newsletter and you specifically tag them as clients, I think you could maybe send like an annual request, if you will, to be like, and hey, if you haven't had the opportunity to leave me a Google review, because that would be different than asking them to fill out the feedback form that's inside Dubsado. But you could ask them, hey, if you haven't had the opportunity to fill out a Google review, I would really appreciate it because it helps me get found on Google by other amazing clients just like you. I mean, there's always
Absolutely.
an opportunity for some flattery in there.
And I do model calls for when I'm one-on-one mentoring with people, or I have done some personal projects that I've done model calls for. And those model calls always go out to past clients first.
Okay.
Because even if they aren't a good fit for it and it doesn't work for them, they forward that to friends. So, utilize those clients for that sort of thing, because I get amazing applicants for my model calls doing it that way.
Okay. So I feel like we hit on frequently asked questions are something that go throughout your entire client experience. They go on your website so that perhaps strangers can find you. If they are looking for answers to that same question, they have the potential to become your client. You sprinkle those same answers throughout your client experience. And after the session has taken place, you have this video library to keep on nurturing them, tell them what comes next. And then even after delivery, you are reminding them that you are still here to work with them. You are asking them if they have any other friends, because guess what? If you loved me, your friends probably love me too.
Yes.
And then you are asking them for that testimonial or that feedback so that you can update your website with amazing words from your clients. Is there anything else inside of your client experience that you think is worth mentioning? Because I do feel like we completely skipped over the booking part of like the workflow, if you will.
We did. We skipped over the booking part. So I really think having an optimized contact page is super important. You don't want to just have a form slapped on there. And you also don't, I mean, there are varying thoughts on this. I don't like having a super long form that people have to fill out
I
because the
agree.
chances are they are not going to fill it out. If you look at, 10 questions, you're going to be like, forget it. I'm not doing this. This is not your questionnaire. This is a contact form.
Yes.
So I start with, how can I help you? Because I am serving my clients. And then the drop down is newborn session, maternity, all the choices, their name, their phone number, all of that stuff. But then underneath there, I also have links that they can go to my facts page, to more about me. I think I have a couple blog posts also with frequently asked questions. One is what to wear, and one is why you need an in-home session. So you can provide additional information on that contact page. It does not need to be just a form. And then when they submit it, as we discussed, which I might be adding a video to this, they go to a thank you page. And again, I have important things there. They know exactly what happens next too. And that is key, I think, in any client experience, is you never want them guessing what happens next. You need to let them know, this is what you can expect next. This is what's going to happen after your session. This is what's going to happen after you order your products. Don't leave them guessing.
And I feel like that's where you should start with your client experience is writing down a list so that when you sit down to write these emails that you're going to be sending people throughout your client experience, you can always end it with what comes next, because you can just look at your handy dandy list that you've made and be like, oh yeah, they're going to get this questionnaire 3 weeks before the session. Let me tell them that this is what they're going to get.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that goes to your workflow. So really writing down your workflow is super helpful, and what touch points in that workflow you have with the client. So you can give them that information of what comes next.
Now, guys, Natasha's client experience is absolutely beautiful, and she has a freebie that is linked in these show notes. And so if you would like to download this PDF, it even has a bonus video. Please be sure to check that out, because I feel like it's going to be very helpful for all of you who are in a place where you really want to make an amazing client experience for 2025 and beyond.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it talks all about what pages you need on your website for your client experience. So you're bringing in your website and your client experience.
I mean, and I feel like that gets missed a lot, because, for me, when I talk about your client experience from the angle of a CRM, I'm always starting with your inquiry. Then we go into your booking, then we go into your onboarding, then we go into your offboarding. But the truth is, your client experience actually goes before that and after that. And the before that is how people find you in order to come into your CRM, whether it's your website or your social media or other places where you exist in like person or, whatever it is that you're doing. But the client experience doesn't start when you talk to somebody. It starts with every opportunity that they have to interact with your brand initially, whether you are the person that's having that conversation or whether or not your website or the posts on your social media are doing it for you.
Absolutely. And even when people find you on social media, they most likely are going to go to your website. Yes. That is the next step. So optimizing your website to help them with their client experience and have it be an easy process and straightforward, and they can find everything, is key.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that was part of the freebie, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
All right, Natasha, any other tips that you would like to give our listening audience related to client experience? And just to let you guys know, Natasha is coming to us live from her brand new Palm Springs house. I shouldn't say it's brand new. It's brand new to her, but it's also
Yes.
completely redone. And she is doing this new thing for 2025 where she has in-person small retreats for photographers. And the first one happens to be on client experience at the beginning of April. And so if you would like to check that out, I also have that linked inside of the show notes.
Yes, I'm really excited about that. And with joining that retreat, you also get access to my course, the Client Experience Blueprint. So you could even get a jump start. And I walk you through all of these things step by step. There are PDFs and checklists and videos and all of the things to help you really up-level your client experience so that you can attract and keep clients who give you rave reviews and tons of referrals.
Natasha, it was lovely to have you on the podcast again. Which, guys, I should tell you this. This is a little funny story. I'm just poking at her. So she sends me a formal request, like a pitch, to be on the podcast, like an honest to God pitch. And I looked at the email and I was like, what? So then I pick up my phone and I text her and I'm like, by the way, you can come back on the podcast whenever you'd like. Please don't send me another pitch. Here's the link to go pick a time.
Well, I wanted you to choose the topic and but yes, you're right. I could have just texted you.
It was so funny though. I mean, I got a good giggle out of it. So there was that.
Well, thank you so much for having me on again.
Yes. All right, everybody. I certainly hope that you have learned something about your client experience and how you can make it even better for 2025 and beyond. And you know that this is a topic that we talk about on this podcast quite often. So be sure to check out the show notes for the multiple episodes that I have linked you in case you want to take a deep dive into some of the things that we have chatted about today. All right, that's it for this episode. See you next time.